Hello friends, this is Trebus. I am with SC2 Noob School. Today's Friday, and I actually almost just broke out and sang that terrible Friday song, but at the last minute something kicked in and said, no, you cannot do this. So thank you to whatever part of my brain realized that was a terrible idea. Man, I'm almost ashamed. I'm so glad. If I had actually done that, I would have had to stop the recording and redo it, because I would, and then, you know, for the rest of the day, I would have this like cloud of shame following me around, because that would just be awful. So you're welcome for not singing that terrible song. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then good, your life is better for it. Alright, so today is Friday. We're going to be watching a Diamond level Zerg player today, and we're going to get to talk about scouting. We're going to get to talk about specific counters to a Terran build. So, since we're in the Diamond League now, we're assuming the macro is pretty good. Obviously, everyone's macro has room to improve, but a Diamond player, you know what, their macro is going to be pretty solid. It's not going to be the thing that is losing them the game, necessarily, most of the time. But yeah, they pretty much have a good chance of winning against another Diamond or even Masters level player with similar macro. So, first little scouting thing we notice is, oh, no gas. So what is this going to mean? It's basically going to mean it's going to be either fast command center or some kind of mass barracks push. More likely it's going to be the command center. So you can see our Zerg friend here. Oh, by the way, this is Infordion. Why do you people have such difficult names? What is the deal? Then again, my name is Trebus, and everyone thinks it's Trevis, but maybe that's just my lack of enunciation. Alright, so we have scouted the lack of gas, and so our next concern is going to be trying to figure out if this is indeed a command center. So after this pool is up, we should be making our standard 2 sets of Zerglings. I'd say 1 or 2 sets of Zerglings is fine. Usually 2, so you can grab a watchtower as well as scout the front. And these are going to be going just to scout this command center, just to make sure it is what we think it is. Okay. The other thing we're thinking about scouting wise is having this overlord in position to come scout this base a little bit later. Okay, so knowing that it's probably going to be a command center, and you actually, if you see the little Zergling corpses here, our Zerg player did actually see the command center. I would cancel this spine crawler. This spine crawler is honestly irrelevant itself. If there's really any danger coming, you can just take care of it with a round of Zerglings and it'll be fine because of the quickness of the command center. So we could definitely cut those out of the build and just focus on getting more drones. The other thing is, you can see we got enough gas for our speed. And in this scenario, I would say is the most obvious option where you want to pull off of gas and get a quick third. Crazily enough, the Terran player is actually going for an insanely fast third as well, which maybe we're going to scout it, maybe we're not. It's not something I would usually expect, so understandable if you don't scout it, but either way, I would definitely pull off the gas right here and focus on getting your own quick third up, because the tech that you need, the tech that you get as Zerg is to defend a certain rush, right? Like certain Terran or Protoss units or whatever, you just need some kind of tech to take care of it. In this instance, though, we know there's probably not any real high tech coming, and there's not going to be any very early push, so it's fine to take off the gas. And then I would be trying to take this as my third. Just because of the rocks there, just not going to have Zerglings up in time to do it. So ideally, there would actually be a third coming up sometime around now. Okay, so we've sent the Overlord in to do some scouting action, and what are we seeing? We're seeing a barracks and a factory. Barracks is making a reactor. Almost certainly going to be switching this out with a factory. In previous videos I've said, you know, around the 6-minute Overlord timing to see what's going on in the Terran base. If you know it's been an early expand, you could honestly get away with scouting a little bit later than that, but 6 minutes is still fine, still good. Still getting the information you want, which is knowing Hellions are going to start coming. So we already had a spine crawler or two from previously. The other thing I would be thinking about, I probably wouldn't even add on another spine crawler. I think 2 would be fine. I would just worry about getting maybe an evolution chamber here and 1 spine crawler here and then a spine crawler back here and make an extra queen to just sit up here and defend against Hellions. I'm going to pause real quick because my frame rate's dropping and I need to figure something out. I'll be right back. Alright, so that's what I'd be thinking about, seeing the Hellions coming. But, like I said, nothing should be really too worrisome right now. I think our Zerg player, in reaction to this, made the Baneling nest. I think that's a good choice as well. Banelings can be a surprisingly good deterrent against Hellions. So, at this point, I really strongly disagree with the choice to add on this gas here. I think the much better choice would be to look a little longer term and have gotten the 3rd up and delay this gas for quite some time, actually. Getting the macro hatch up. You know, I was going to say get the macro hatch at your natural. Yeah, I am going to say get the macro hatch at your natural. You could even put it somewhere like here, and that would block Hellions incredibly well. So, yeah, I would say get the macro hatch and use it as a structure to start blocking some stuff. So we got a little fighting of the Hellions going on. A slight waste of Zerglings, honestly, but either way, not a big deal. So, we have scouted the 3rd base with this nice Overlord placement right there. Very well done. And you can pretty much have 2 reactions to that. Oh, he got a 3rd base. Well, I'm going to bust him and punish him for doing that. Or, I'm going to out-macro him and take a 3rd and 4th base. In this scenario, not having taken a 3rd, you pretty much are obligated to do damage at this point. If the Terran's going to be on more bases than you, then that's just really bad news, and that's not a position that any Zerg player wants to be in. I'm actually going to follow Infordion's vision for a bit of this game, just so we can see a little more about what he's doing. These Zerglings up here, I think this is a really nice move to go deny that 3rd. There's Hellions out on the map, and the Hellions are going to be what can deny these Zerglings, right? And so sending the Zerglings there, you have the potential to do damage to this base, to delay it, or to outright kill it, if they don't pull the Hellions in time. If they don't pull the Hellions in time, it's good for you. If they do pull the Hellions, that means they're not right next to your base and they're not coming in to kill your drones. So it's a win-win situation either way. I'm a big fan of that. Okay. So, now we're going to talk about... Well, no we're not. Take it back. I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you. Talking to me. Okay, so the slightly later game plan is starting to reveal itself. We've gotten Lair, we're getting a Spire up, we're getting some ground upgrades. We got ground carapace. Yeah, and 3rd base still being late. And really, I'd say the problem right now is just not enough drones. It's 43 drones to 39 SCVs. The Terran player should have more SCVs than that, and so we'd actually be down SCVs. We are if you consider that he can get 3 mules out at a time. Pretty far down in minerals, but so yeah, that's definitely a concern. More drones, more drones. Like I said, if you had cut out the gas earlier, you could get a lot more drones now, and so I definitely recommend doing that. Also, something very good that Infordion is doing is spreading lots of creep. Especially when a Terran's going for those quick bases, you know you can pretty much get out on the map and get that creep going. So we do get a nice Baneling hit there with the Zerglings. I guess slightly lucky of the Baneling hit, or just really fortunate that the Terran player allowed him to do that. So, right now we're producing 11 Mutalisks. this is a missed opportunity right here. I think if you're deciding to go Mutalisk and you're going to make 10 or 11 at a time, I would sacrifice one Mutalisk and get the attack upgrade. It's almost certainly worth it, especially in the long run, but even just in the short run, having that +1 is going to be really nice. Okay, so, alright. With the last attack, we saw Marines and Marauders and quite a few Hellions. So, at this point, seeing those Hellions and seeing the Marines and Marauders, I would actually be thinking, oh, he's going for bio. He had gotten the reactor on the factory initially to get some Hellions out. We didn't see a lot of Hellions, so I'm thinking bio, and so I'm thinking Mutalisk, Baneling, Zergling is going to work really well. Keep getting those upgrades. I would maybe start doubling up on the upgrades once this third base is up, getting melee attack as well as Carapace at the same time. I think would be a good choice. And there's going to be a point in this game where we scout something that's going to cause our unit composition strategy to drastically change. But at this point, I'd say it's looking really standard. Marine, Marauder, Medevac, and a few Hellions. Okay, this is the moment. We see 2 Thors, and we see even more Hellions being produced. So even though we saw that this factory is moved off of, or no, the factory is still there. Basically, we're seeing more and more Mech. So this is the part where I'm starting to get really nervous. I'm starting to think, oh, is he actually going for Mech? And if we look inside of the base, we see an armory upgrading. We see 3 factories. There is some Marine and Marauder coming out, but I think that's just right now a gas dump for, a mineral dump for all the minerals he can't spend right now. He's actually, which he should be able to spend those minerals, but he accidentally only has 1 guy on each of these refineries. So we, in a more normal game, you would actually probably see another factory or 2 to be using all that gas. So whenever I'm seeing Mech, all of a sudden I'm thinking these Mutalisks are probably not going to be any good, because when you have Mech, you have at least you have a healthy number of Thors being put into the mix, and the number of Thors is going to depend on how many Mutalisks the Zerg makes. And there's really a certain point where you don't want to have Mutalisks against any number of Thors. The magic box works well, but not well enough to justify how expensive Mutalisks are, and yeah, it's really not worth it. So, little mistake here, flying the Mutalisks over the entire army. And there's going to be another mistake right here, which I think is just being too over-eager to engage, okay? I also not larva injecting before a battle. That's something key that I see a lot. Players get, like, if we look at his vision, he's looking at this battle, and rightly, justifiably so, but actually something that's as important as watching this battle is making sure you have some larva later to reinforce your attack. So basically when an attack is coming in, be thinking about the larvae that are going to come later, and how you can win that attack later if you don't win it right now. So this attack gets messed up pretty badly. First of all, it shouldn't be engaging right here. I'm thinking just pull back and just wait for as long as you can. Also, this upgrade's about to finish. If he had pulled back and just sat here for a while, the upgrade could have finished. Maybe we could have gotten a few more larva injects off or something like that. Also, if the flyer attacks had been upgraded sooner, then maybe we would have that for our Mutalisks. So here's the other botched part of this attack. You can see he sends his Mutalisks in, does not do the magic box, and they just get absolutely eaten alive by the Thors, which is to be expected. So here's the part. Oh, the battle happened. Now, what's going on in my base? I don't have any larvae. I'm building as many units as I can, but I don't have any larva injects coming off. So it's going to be hard to make a lot of units in one go. Like he's going to be able to slowly make units, but really, ideally, we would like to make them all just in one little second here. And then, like, once again, just continuing to go in for this attack, I would much prefer to just stay inside of your base and make the Terran player come to you. You could even use these Zerglings to do a run by, okay? So like one of the disadvantages of a Terran player going for Mech, which by the way, when I say Mech, I mean only factory units, which is pretty close to what we're going to see here. It's a little Mech plus some Marines and Marauders, but it's mostly a Mech play. The disadvantage of Mech is that it's very slow if you need to keep all your units together, which you do if you're going to be doing a big push. So rather than make this engagement that happened right here, you could just delay and sneak some Zerglings by up here and do some kind of counterattack or something like that versus go and be overeager to engage the enemy. I'd say that's one of the underlying things that we see here in this game is just an over-eagerness to engage the enemy. Hold position Zerglings, some of them getting wasted there, but overall a good and worthwhile attack. And at this point, it's pretty easy to see that there's going to be a lot of Mech. No more Mutalisks. We don't want Mutalisks if he's going to be going Mech. I'd cancel my upgrades. I would stop these 8 Mutalisks being built. I would stop doing that. I would start working towards Broodlords. Broodlords are really going to be... There's really not a unit that you can make before Broodlords that you could call a counter to Mech. I think if anything, it'll be the Infestor with Zerglings with lots of upgrades, because you can get fungal growths on the Hellions. You could Neural Parasite, but I don't think Neural Parasite's really worthwhile anymore. But yeah, you can do Infested Terrans plus fungal growths, and then if you have upgraded Zerglings, it can be really nice. The other big reason, and this is actually really important, that you want to upgrade your Zerglings is because those are going to be useful to you once again when you have Broodlords. The Broodlings that come out of Broodlords are affected by these upgrades, so by upgrading your Zerglings, you're extending that advantage on later into your Broodlords. So knowing it was Mech, I would immediately transition into Infestors and Zerglings with heavy upgrades and a fast Hive, so that you can get that Greater Spire and start getting some Broodlords out. And really, it doesn't take a huge number of Broodlords to severely deter a Mech army. It'll be a little more difficult with all these Marines here, but I think Broodlords are still the right choice. The Infestors that you get before the Broodlords will be, of course, good against the Marines and Marauders. So, very effective choice nonetheless. A pretty clear mistake by the Zerg player. I'll also say I like this choice right now of getting Banelings, just seeing this type of army. Ideally it would be Infestors right now, but needing to spend your money on something, I think Banelings is a pretty good choice, better than Roaches or more Mutalisks or anything like that. I think Banelings is pretty good. So that attack got pretty well crushed, mostly because of the disorganization of all the units. They didn't attack firmly together, and it hurt us severely. So the rest of this game, I think, is going to be... our Zerg player does lose here, and I'd pretty much chalk it up to a lack of transition into something different after seeing all the Mech. Banelings are good, but when you're using them on Thors, it's just very hard to get cost effective like that. And so we're going to see this game just slowly kind of spiral out of control. You can see our Zerg player got our third base up. He's got decent upgrades. He's got 2-1 or 1-2, depending on how you want to look at it. 2 to 3 bases saturated, and quite a few Zerglings out here. But yeah, just the lack of Infestors are going to make it really, really tough. And as you can see, the Terran player is committing more and more to Mech, getting more upgrades. Still getting a little bit of bio, but primarily a Mech game. So we're going to follow this through to the end, but like I said, the loss, I think, can definitely be attributed to lack of transitioning of units. Here comes our last Baneling attack. Was able to do actually a pretty decent amount of damage to all those clumped up mech units with the Banelings, but that was the entirety of the Zerg army, and it's just going to be very, very difficult to rebuild at this point, especially seeing as the Terran has just taken bases all over the place. So yeah, this is pretty much going to be it. Infestors good against mech, not just because of the fungal growth on the Hellions and stuff like that, but infested Terrans are actually really good against mech as well. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and end it here. There you go. Terran player has had this strategy countered by Broodlords and Infestors before, so I wasn't making that up. Yeah, I'm just gonna zoom through this. La-di-da. Terran player's building up. Obviously, yeah, Zerg's not gonna be able to beat that. Alright, so, I hope you guys enjoyed the series. Bronze through Diamond. There should be a video for everyone where you can learn something. I think I did at least one of every matchup, Zerg versus Terran, Protoss, and Zerg. Let me know in the comments what race you want to see next week. It's either going to be Terran or Protoss. You guys have sent me a lot of replays, so thank you very much. I have a lot to choose from, so the quality of replays I can select is getting better. Anything else? I can't think of it. Thank you for watching. All that good stuff. We'll see you next week for Terran and Protoss. GG.